Kia ora koutou katoa. It's really great to be with you all here today. It's been, I think, close to 15 to 20 years since I've been to Christchurch, and the city's changed a ton. I was really surprised to see almost every second building is a new building here. It's really, really beautiful. So it's great to be back. So I'm Bowen. I'm a proud Kiwi who grew up in New Zealand, and I have just recently moved back home with my young family from the San Francisco Bay Area after spending about 13 years building businesses and products like Facebook Marketplace, Stripe Apps, and Common Room. And over that time, I learned that succeeding on the global stage isn't necessarily about being the smartest in the room, which I'm sure a lot of you guys are used to being. But it's about having a winning mindset. But before I dive into that, I want to talk about one of the most beloved New Zealand institutions, the All Blacks. So off the field, they're humble and grounded, probably someone you'd love to grab a beer with. But on the field, they are absolutely ruthless, and they know how to win. That unrelenting intensity in the push to win is what separates dreams from outcomes. And I saw the same thing in Silicon Valley. The teams that won weren't always the smartest. They were the ones who executed relentlessly. Now, being back in New Zealand after 13 years, I've seen how far we've come as a tech sector. We've really gone from a dirt track that you have to cut through with machetes to a paved road. The soil is really rich, and you can grow almost anything here. And the question, in my mind, isn't whether we can build. It's whether we'll do what it takes to win. We Kiwis have so many amazing qualities like grit, ingenuity, persistence, and what we need more of is that obsession that nothing else matters until you start winning. Because when you combine our best qualities with the unrelenting focus on winning, we'll be unstoppable. And so that's what I want to share today. How to build a winning mentality, a culture of winning, and why New Zealand needs every one of you to win. So, first, winners are never satisfied. You raise the bar continuously, you make progress visible, you make standards explicit. You use what I like to call 50-50 goals. So you set targets that team has a real shot at, but not a guarantee. If every team hits every goal every time, the goals were too small. If nobody hits them, well, the goals weren't real. 50% hit rate over a quarter is a good bar for ambition and truth. Your environment sets your standards. I'm sure you've heard that a lot. That obviously applies to people around you, shaping who you become. But that is true of you, but definitely very true of your team and your company. Reward your best people with scope and trust, but on the flip side, move fast on replacing those who are not meeting the bar. Hire slow and let folks who are not a good fit go fast. You are being kind when you help someone to find a seat where they can be a superstar that may not be your own company. That is respectful to their time and fair to the people who are carrying the load on your own team. But I want to caveat that you do not need, and nor should you be, a jerk while doing all this, because it's not really about you. You and the company are just a vessel to manifest something that should exist in the world. Winning should come with a presumed baseline of respect and purpose, because ultimately, people only really care about three things at work: respect, meaning, and most importantly, being on a winning team. Second, winners are often not the smartest people in the room, as I said. But I have seen they're the most curious and really good at getting things done. I think maybe something that a lot of folks know in this room, getting things done. Facebook Marketplace succeeded because we saw what users were already doing in buy and sell groups. Instagram Reels succeeded because we listened to what people wanted, not what we wish were true. Stripe Apps succeeded because we co-built with developers and partners every step of the way. And all these products didn't start that great. In fact, they were pretty shitty. But it was relentless execution and feedback and iteration loops that eventually built them into great businesses. You don't need perfect ideas, but you do need perfect execution with an obsession with a problem and the humility to learn. Fast, high-quality execution gives you clear signals and better strategy. Poor execution just creates noise, and it's really hard to learn from noise. So here's a few ways I found to get better at execution. Stay close to your customers and prospects. Talk to customers, like what's happening here for Jade. As a start, 30 customers in 30 days is a good baseline. Sit with them while they use the product. You'll learn lots of things that no dashboard can ever show. And if anecdotes contradict data and numbers, then the anecdotes usually are telling you something that you should probably dive in. Second, ship weekly as a feedback loop to what you hear from your customer. Publish a company-wide change log on what's being shipped so progress is visible across everyone and is celebrated. Stay ruthless about sunk costs. It does not matter how much time or money that you have put into a feature. It matters whether customers get value now. When facts change, plans change. No one loses face for changing their mind in light of new data. That's humility in practice. It keeps the team coachable and fast. And lastly, data and proximity to the customer should beat seniority. Anyone can win an argument if they bring fresh customer evidence and a measurable result. That's how you create a culture where truth travels quickly to the decision. And at Facebook, we often would flag times in review meetings when too many people, often execs, would opine, and there's not enough data and customer-based decisions. And when you operate like this, it's not just great for your own company, but it's also, as Sue mentioned, really, really critical to drive the economic growth for our country, New Zealand. And economic growth is how we pay for the country we want. Based on the figures from Economic Growth New Zealand Inc., if we keep growing at what we've done over the past 20 years, and that's roughly about 0.9% per annum of GDP growth, we'll barely be keeping the lights on, and we'll continue to hemorrhage talent to overseas. At 3% GDP growth per year, young people start to see a future here, and we can finally start to invest in the future of our country. At 5%, after 10 years, we'll become the envy of the world. So that could mean top 5 globally for healthcare and education outcomes, low poverty rates, specialist teacher in every classroom, and more. We can create a future of 5% GDP growth. Countries like Denmark shows what happens when a nation builds export winners, concentrates talent, converts private success to public goods. Winning companies create resources, good policy converts resources to services, and we can win globally and invest in New Zealand. So building globally ambitious businesses that win isn't just great for your business, it's noble. It moves this country forward. So here's the 5 moves you can write now. 1, define one success metric that maps directly to customer value, whether it be monthly active accounts, qualified demos, any recurring revenue, 30-day user retention, whatever. Publish it. Review it weekly. 2, set 50-50 goals against that metric and other team metrics that roll up to that. That should also be 50-50. Ambitious, meaningful. 3, relook at your org through the lens of performance. Drive with 4 C's: clarity of owner and outcome, cadence of visibility, coaching with specific feedback, and consequences that are humane and fast. Have the hard conversations. Move out people who cannot meet the bar and promote those who do. 4, make decisions with data and proximity to the customer. Anyone can bring evidence. Data wins arguments, not seniority. 5, stay human while you do all of this. Be open about the bar, be transparent about the trade-offs, treat people with respect. High standards and high care can live together. So, it's pretty simple. Win first, earn the privileges that follow, keep ego out of the way, build for the world, invest at home. That's how you win. That's how we take care of our people and our country. So let's begin.
Any questions from the audience?
Sure. Yeah.
Any questions for Bowen?
I have one to kick off while others are thinking.
Well, I'm gonna carry around this prop. I don't know if it's gonna be doing anything. They can all hear each other, I think. Yeah. It's supposed to be on.
Is it on now?
No worries.
Okay.
It's a prop.
Your point of Bowen about the 50-50 stretch goals. How are you going any advice on? Because I've noticed, like with with really good engineering teams, often if you don't make objectives and things, it can be a very binary thing. A lot of great engineers get like that was a bit of a miss. You got any advice on how you, perhaps an established culture within a company, so get everyone comfortable with actually a 50-50? If we don't make it, that's okay. We've learned, we've got certainty for going forward.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously that there's a lot of nuance that I couldn't go into in a short presentation. But to build a performance culture, there's many facets that you have to change across a company. You can't just expect to suddenly set a 50-50 goal and say, here you go, and we'll swim or drown. That would be pretty difficult. I think there's a few pieces there, and happy to chat more afterwards. First is that it's really important to be really clear that 50-50 goals doesn't mean you have a 50% chance of getting shot. That's very different. It means that once you set your goals and what that strategy is, then what you hold the team accountable to is how well they've executed. That is really important, because once you've aligned on the goal and the strategy, then you have joint accountability between leadership and the team on what the strategy is. So the strategy isn't the sole accountability of the team anymore, but execution 100% is. And so what I find where 50-50 has been done really well is that internally within the company, there's very clear mechanisms on measuring what good execution really means for individuals and for teams. And you have really good milestones and measures throughout. So even if you don't hit the 50-50 goal, which by design, 50% shouldn't be hit, and if you execute it really well, then that's still a win. And so I think that's really important. So culturally, and there's lots of other cultural things that you'll have to change as well in order to make that level of risk-taking kind of palatable. And the other piece is that, hey, for a large existing organization, it may be prudent to maybe not do this across the entire company immediately, but to pick a team and pick a product line that is really suited for this level of fast-paced change, and then really drive changes much harder in those teams. And there's a bit of a coalition of the willing within those teams often as well, and the buy-in from the rest of the folks often becomes much easier as well, because as you see the success of those teams over time.
That's wonderful. I hope you don't mind. Can I ask a question? I think
Sure.
it's building a little bit on what Dean was just asking. And it was your comment earlier about the fact that you have to listen to your customer in order to kind of understand. And that's how you were able to develop, well, that's how the Facebook Marketplace and Instagram Reels and everything kind of came to be. Do you have any advice for people, when you are listening to customers and you are getting that feedback, but perhaps internally you're not able to kind of get that traction or get that kind of commitment? I'm speaking as a marketer. Maybe that's just a... Have you ever encountered that, or do you have any
Yes,
advice?
often. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think. Look, that's obviously how do you get insights and feedback into actual real products and businesses is obviously one of the hallmarks of whether your company can effectively execute. And I think there's many. My answer is going to sound pretty simplistic because we don't have a ton of time to talk through a lot of nuance in this. But I think that one of the ways is really incentivize and really motivate and support the team on time to value, and how quickly something actually gets delivered based on the initial insight. And this isn't also a theoretical thing. I've literally been talking to a few pretty fast-growing, even companies that we'd consider scale-ups and smaller and growing really quickly to a bit more mature companies. And this is the founder. I think a founder should never feel like you're moving fast enough, or a leader, the CE, and one of the measures that they started putting in is really start to measure one of the success of the teams is from whatever you define as a start date, which could be, hey, review. You've decided that, hey, this is something we should do, and then you start the clock. And you start measuring, well, how long does it take to get if it's not too lagging for its revenue, but sometimes that may be too much of a lagging metric, then you can start to measure, well, what's the first time when a customer gets value out of the product, and then you start measuring that first, and maybe the results are initially really shocking, and that's good, and then you start to burn that down because you start to break that down to say, why did it take so long?
So experimentation is kind of key.
Yeah, you have to try.
Got to try.
Yeah.
Love that. All right. Anything else? All right. Thank you so very much. Absolutely wonderful. Please give a hand.